right, well, welcome to the podcast this week, everyone.
Hello, Mike.
In our brand new studio.
Isn't this great?
I know.
It's great.
Isn't it nice? We're moving up.
We're moving on up. Yeah.
We're moving up. It's
Fish
like a
don't fry in the
nice
kitchen.
space.
They don't.
And Chase and his team did a really good job of putting this
Great
together.
job.
And so
Way to go, Chase and team.
And this
we're
moves.
grateful for the
Chase
nice.
will not appreciate me
It
moving
does
it.
move.
Derek.
Chase is squirming right now because you're moving it. But
Nice.
Let's check the other camera and see if it's okay. It's fine.
we even have multiple cameras,
Look at
people.
us.
Man.
So
Yeah.
Now we got Johan and Beth.
Man, what a start to 2026.
Way to go.
Man, that's what we're talking
fresh.
about.
I know.
We're fresh.
I know.
Won't he do
it's
it?
like fancy.
He will.
He said he would.
So anyway, we're coming back from the holidays, and we had like the best of podcasts over the month of
We took a little break.
December. We did
Yeah.
take a break.
Yeah.
And so Chase put together some best of podcasts, which were great.
Olivia and Emlyn helped me too.
Oh well, that's
They
nice
helped.
of them.
So that we could do
What a team
this.
player you are, giving everybody else props.
Yes, delegating.
So proud of
Yeah,
you.
so it was highlights from some previous podcasts, but then we had a special one, like a
We did.
special Christmas sitcom.
Michael Bowen's idea.
Episode.
He wanted the Christmas reading, and we said that's not sufficient. So ChatGPT turned it into a sitcom script.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it was
pretty fun.
It,
Chat, turn this into a sitcom script.
That's what I said.
It actually was pretty funny. So, anyway, if you
Thanks,
have not
Mike.
heard it, you should go back and listen to it. So,
I'll go and do that.
yeah, you should. Great. Seeing as how none of you at this table actually listened to it. Josh
we
was
were part of it.
Josh was actually
Josh
a part
was
of
on
it,
it.
but didn't listen to it.
We're
So,
going to. Johan
I'm sure
and
it was
I-
great.
It's
I'm
on
sure
my
it was
to-do list.
anyway, but we're glad to be back. It's 2026, and yeah, brand new year.
I love it. I love it.
New year,
did
new
y'all
you,
have
Mike.
Did y'all have a good break?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
we took a
had to
break.
walk in today and remember how to work.
Yes.
You know, what are office hours? Had my
So-
first meeting at 8 a.m.
So I got here at 6:45 today.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I will only do that one day a year. But I woke
Okay.
up and I was like, I have so much to do. It's January.
Wow.
You were
So
ready.
You got
Get
all
ready.
of
You were ready.
Cooked my
2026
supper.
done.
I got up so early. I cooked my supper. Had all that done. I
Supper
know-
as in lunch or dinner? What is your supper?
Like after I get home from work, spaghetti. We're having spaghetti
Tonight.
So I did all
so
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
tonight.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
supper.
Awesome.
Supper.
Yeah.
And I did all that. Washed a load of clothes and came to work. Like I'm in it to win it.
Wow.
Only
go.
today. By 1 o'clock, I'll be asleep.
I was going to say, let's check back this afternoon.
good, yeah.
1 o'clock,
And-
you'll see my little. I have a thing on my window, so I'll be like, it'll be down. I'll be like, I'm going to
Snoozing.
take some time for prayer.
And you even had time for protein pancakes or waffles.
I did,
Were
and
they pancakes?
I cooked that myself.
Oh.
I cooked a protein pancake. My husband teaches fitness on Monday mornings, so he doesn't fix my breakfast. So I had to do it myself. So it was a protein waffle and then protein peanut butter. That y'all eat
You
more
got a lot of
protein.
protein today.
And 26.
Yeah.
Tell about your protein drink. 30 grams.
30 grams of protein in my
protein.
sparkling water. It's delicious to me. My wife hates it, so there's more for
Yeah.
me to have in my house.
I can't wait to try it.
My wife hates those too. So, but
So
I think they're decent. So
For what they are, they're good.
yeah. Well, anyway, so we started a new year, new series in Ecclesiastes.
Yeah, man.
And so exciting. It's actually, I know Mark Evans kind of gave you grief over the last couple of months about this series and what it might be, but it was a really great start, I thought, yesterday.
Good. I'm so glad. So we were talking. We presented this to the staff. I guess it was maybe late October, early November, and talked about Ecclesiastes being the next series. You know, his comment was, "That's not going to be a potent book," which is funny. Which talk to him often about. Was that potent enough for you, buddy? But the idea is Ecclesiastes can be incredibly wordy in a way that it's 900 set. In my opinion, it's set in around 930 BC. That's a long time from 2026. AD. And so there's the way it is written, the tone in which it's written, the genre that it's written. It's a wisdom book. And so it's written in that kind of wisdom literature type way. But when you take a deeper dive into it, man, it's not only really good for you, I think it appeals to both the Christian and the non-Christian, or at least the religious and the irreligious alike. And so, there have been some folks ask, of all the 66 books in the Bible, why Ecclesiastes? Like, why did we pick this one? And as we do often, there's probably some spiritual nature to it. And then there's also maybe some not so spiritual nature to it. We looked at the calendar and we set up, as far as a preaching schedule goes, we'll look at the calendar and we'll set up, we know that New Year's Day is this day. We know that Easter is this day. We know that typically the way people treat church, whether this is right or wrong, it just is what it is. We're going to have a pretty great crowd up until Easter, and it'll tail off, still staying strong, but kind of start to dip until we get to Memorial Day. Which is kind of the unofficial begin of summer. And then we go into our summer sessions, right? And so that's when less people are here and everybody's traveling. People are still engaged. Our online is way more than typical part of the year, but they're not in the building. And so we schedule sermon series, unless we're doing like John for 70 weeks, in those increments. And so we needed 12 weeks. And so I start looking, okay, Lord, what in the Bible is 12 weeks? Like how can we, what is something we can preach? And so you start going through and it's like, oh, well, there's a book that has 12 chapters. That book is Ecclesiastes. And so that is the not so spiritual part of it. Here's the spiritual side of it. Ecclesiastes is beautiful because I think it's the original book of deconstruction, right? So there is an idea that there's a religious group of people, God's chosen people, and they're doing very religious things, and they're finding themselves not to be fulfilled in it. And not only them, but their leader, who has been handpicked by God, blessed by God, and favored by God, also feels the same way. And so then he dives in and says, I got to figure this out. Why do I feel the way that I do? And he jumps in and says, well, let's run some tests. Here are the things that I've done in life. Here are the things I've gone after. Here's the things I've achieved. Here's what I've acquired for myself. And they've all left me feeling a certain kind of way. Why is that? And as it pertains to me and why I want to preach this is like right now in our life, in our own family, like Gideon and I, we had this conversation yesterday. Like as a 17-year-old man, like there's some doubts in his life about the faith that he grew up with that I passed down to him that he's now wrestling with for himself. And a lot of it lives with the same language. And so he's asking these questions like, buddy, there's a book in the Bible that speaks exactly to the questions you're having. Well, what is that book? I said, well, let's buckle in for 12 weeks. Buddy. I'm going to walk us through it.
Yeah.
So we actually, after church yesterday, walked through all 12 of those chapters together. But it is the reason, the impetus for it. Number one, we needed 12 weeks. Number two, it asks some really deep questions, both for the religious person and the not-so-religious person. And it allows us to get to, I think, a more honest approach to who God is and what God desires from us. That's why we are where we are.
Yeah. Well, as I listened yesterday, I mean, I thought, like I found myself thinking, this is something that's relevant for everyone. Like it's applicable. Like everyone can relate to, I think, having pursued something at some point in their life that they thought would bring them fulfillment or, some sort of satisfaction, and then they got it and realized it didn't really deliver what they thought it would. Right. And there was still this void that's ultimately designed. We know only God can fill it. So I thought, this is really like, I imagine everyone sitting in the room, if they're really dialed in, it can relate. They can relate to what they're hearing.
Yeah.
So,
and I want to encourage our listeners too, if you're not signed up for the daily Bible reading, one thing I loved last week was the fact I was already immersed in Ecclesiastes 1 before you started speaking. And so that was just a great opportunity. So be sure you sign up for that. But it's a great opportunity to immerse yourself in what you're about to speak on, but also kind of think through what God is trying to say to you personally. Otherwise, you'll just read it for reading's sake.
And if you do that with wisdom literature, you may, like most people do, is just kind of glaze over it and read it and say, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
Like, what's it mean for the life to be corkscrewed together and I can't uncorkscrew it and all is vanity? And like, what does that mean? Well, if you read it over the course of the week and you pray and you take your time. And another encouragement I would give to you as you're doing your daily Bible reading plan, particularly with this book in the wisdom literature that it is and the style and genre, is use different translations.
That's so funny because
Is that what you were going to say?
I have an illustration.
Do it, please. Go ahead.
Amplified Bible. If you're not familiar with that, it takes some of the words and defines it. It's not like shouting at you, Amplified Bible, which is what you think. But I want to read verse 1, can I? Because it was just, I thought, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, verse 1. Actually, this is verse 2, my bad. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher, vanity of vanities, all, and then in parentheses, that is done without God's guidance is vanity. Futile, meaningless, a wisp of smoke, a vapor that vanishes, merely chasing the wind. And so different versions give you a different visual, too, of what the writer is trying to say.
Yep.
So, all right. So let's take some time because and again, and I've said this before, I really appreciate the historical context that you often give when you start a series, but you talk about, or you spent some time talking about, there's actually some debate maybe over who might have written this book, and you shared that you believe it's Solomon.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, why do you believe it's Solomon, and why is there a debate over it?
Oh, yeah. So, I think it's safe to say that Solomon is in view here, whether it's him who actually writes it or somebody writes it in his kind of name or likeness, because it talks about him being David's son and him being the king of Jerusalem and the wisest man to ever live. So we kind of have that picture of Solomon in view. But the reason for the debate is, the traditional view is like 930 BC. That is the traditional, that's towards the end of Solomon's life. He writes it down as he's going. I like that view. But then there's what's called the scholarly view, and they would say that it is Solomon in name and in likeness, but it's not him in actuality as a person. It is simply his scribes or people who like him or people who have known him along the way and pass it down. Almost 600 years later, actually penning these words because of some of the things that are said. Like whenever we got to the end of the passage yesterday, I think it was verse 16, he said, I am the wisest man who has ever ruled over Jerusalem, or all who have come before. Well, he's the first man to ever rule over Jerusalem, at least as far as God's people go. You have David, who is a ruler, and then you have Saul before him, but they didn't rule over Jerusalem. Like we're leading up to that moment. We have Solomon's temple, and he's going to rule in Jerusalem. He's the first guy to do it. Well, if you take the traditional view, there's a tension there. Like, well, what do we do with that? If you're the first guy and he's saying I think there's too much sugar for a dime whenever we start to do that. But there are other people who would say, well, if, give it another 600 years, and there's a ton of people who have ruled over Jerusalem, and still Solomon is the wisest out of all of them. And the things that we learn, still in Solomon's tone and in wisdom, speaking to the things that Israel as a people have chased after, that they have either acquired or tried to acquire. And it felt, same thing, hevel, felt like smoke that they were grasping at that they could never go. So there is the tension. So if you nerd out and you like to go into the background and
my eyes are glazing over.
I know. If you the author, struggles or fights that are over who is the author of this, you can go the traditional way, or you can go the scholarly way. I like the traditional view that Solomon actually wrote it.
I do too. It's simpler.
Yeah,
it's
way
simpler. Yeah,
just take
write
it for
it
what
down,
it is.
keep on going.
Here it is.
Well, I think an important distinction too is that, like you mentioned, Solomon was the first of God's people to rule. Excuse me. But it was conquered territory, so it wasn't a city that was built by the Jewish people.
That's right.
So there were people who ruled it prior to David and Saul and Solomon, not in that order, of course. So even if with the traditional view, verse 16 is still true,
can fit.
because people did rule that. It just was not within God's chosen people.
That's right.
So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I think
it's
Solomon was the author,
Yeah.
or the human author, at least.
That's right. Yeah. Holy Spirit.
All right, so you spent time talking about the word vanity that is our translations show as the word vanity, and you talked about it means smoke or vapor, breath. You went with the word smoke really predominantly in your message, but ultimately something that's fleeting or lacks substance.
Yeah.
So, and I think maybe this might have been pretty clear in your message. It was pretty clear in your message. But what are some things maybe modern day that we might pursue that would ultimately be hevel?
Oh, yeah. So I think, and this is what we'll see throughout the rest of the book, is anything can be hevel. Anything that's pursued outside of God's not only guidance, but his will for your life is going to be that, whether it's going to be explicitly Christian or not. It's like again, he'll speak to next week when we get into chapter 2. It's still kind of an overview of kind of the bigger things that we've chased, and he'll give some examples of maybe some not so great things that he's chased after and reached at to grab, and it was hevel for him, like it just went through. But then there was also some really good things like wisdom, like education, like those aren't inherently bad things. But if you're doing them for the wrong reason, or you're doing them for the perceived wrong outcome, when you get that thing, it's not going to satisfy you. It's not going to fill that thing that you were after in the first place. So it allows you, or it actually makes you ask some deeper questions. Not only what do I want? So that's generally what we do as carnal humans. We're pretty clear. I'm hungry. I want food. I'm thirsty. I want a sparkling protein drink. Whatever it is. But the question that this begins to cause you to ask is, why do I want those things? Outside of food and drink. I want a happy life. I want a big house. I want nice cars. I want my kids to go to a great school. Those are great. Why do you want those things? Because if it is, well, I want my kids to be safe in a God-honoring environment. I want my house to be sound. I want my car to be reliable. Those aren't bad things at all. But if the answer in your heart starts to live, I want people to envy me by the neighborhood that I live in. I want my house to be bigger than my uncle's house because I always saw him as somebody who held something over me, and I want to be better than he was. I want my family to view me as better than he was. Those questions begin to expose a bigger problem in us. And in those moments, we can get the bigger house and the nicer car, and our kids go to the better place. All good. But it's hevel. Like it's smoke. When we get it, we're like, that didn't satisfy me like I thought it would. Yeah. And if we're not honest, we don't surrender it to God, then we keep chasing and we get exhausted. And that's what he says at the end of chapter 1 is all of this chasing is exhausting. And so what do we do from here? And it leaves the tension. There's no resolve in chapter 1, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It made me think yesterday about getting a new car and how excited you are about the new car. And it's, I got this car, I dreamed about this car. And you get the car, and then a week later, it's not so new anymore.
Yeah.
And it diminishes and diminishes, and it becomes just a car after a while. I think any of those shiny things can become an obsession for us, something we have to obtain. But looking at it in light of what God's eternity, they don't really have value.
That's right.
At all. They're nice to have, though.
Yeah, and I think like what you were saying, there's no sustained satisfaction. Because there is like, you eat a Greek meal and you're like, man, that was awesome.
And it was good.
And you wake up the next morning and you're hungry.
Hungry again.
And I think that's where like, man, if we chase after anything that's not God, he's the only one that can have sustained satisfaction and whom we can find delight in daily. Because, the car, the new job, and what it leads to is just escalation of like, well, that didn't satisfy, so I need more of it.
Yeah.
Or I need something different. And that's why the why is so important, which is interesting. We got small kids at home. They ask why all the time. And somehow when we grow, we're almost discouraged to ask why. Like, hey, stop asking why. Focus on the what. Focus on the how. Focus on the when. Yeah. But we don't take time to ask the important question of like, why am I doing this? And I think we almost have to revisit that childlike, honesty and curiosity of like, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Why am I chasing the things that I'm chasing?
Which, Johann, is so, man, I think potent to steal Mark Evans' words, because I think that's true even while we come to God. And that's what this book is going to cause us to at least question. That's why it's the original deconstruction book. Okay, you came to God. You're a quote-unquote Christian. You go to church. You do the thing. You're a part of a small group. You have a Bible with your name on the cover, all the things. Why did you come to God in the first place? And if the answer, and again, we know, if the answer is anything other than because I want God, then we are going to strive after the win. It's all going to be smoky. And that could even go to, I don't want to go to hell when I die. Because that is, in my opinion, that is an incomplete gospel. That is nothing more than an eternal insurance policy that at someday is not going to be enough for you to sustain you when life gets hard now. Because you're waiting on something to come to you later, and you don't get to enjoy it now. So whenever you get the diagnosis today, whenever something happens in your family unit today, you're saying, well, I know I have this thing in the future, but I have nothing to sustain me now. So the question is, why? Why do we do what we do? And it's going to be true of, honestly, buying cars and coming to God and everything in between those two things.
Yeah, one of the scriptures that comes to mind when you say that is like Mark chapter 7. When the Pharisees are confronting Jesus because his disciples had not ceremonially washed their hands. And so they had broken the traditions. And, Jesus quotes Isaiah when he says, wisely did Isaiah, or rightly did Isaiah prophesy of you, you hypocrites. For he says, you honor me with your lips, but your hearts are far from me.
Yeah.
And so again, like 1,000 years after Ecclesiastes, you have people who are thinking they're living for God, doing all the things that they think are the right things, the godly things, but their hearts are not there. So it's almost like I'm chasing after God because I want God's blessing rather than I love God and I want a relationship with him. And so that's what makes Ecclesiastes so, it's like, man, anything can be.
And what is, for me, it's safe. Like, I don't know if that's the right word to use, but I think it is. There's nothing about Ecclesiastes that's going to say, okay, now that I've got you cornered into proving why you have not chosen rightly, now you're in danger of hellfire. Like, I knew it. I was just waiting to box you in. I was going to use this argument to get you to realize that you're a wayward person, and now I got you. All of it is grace to draw you back. And to the point, like, Jesus uses that to speak clearly to the Pharisees who aren't Jesus lovers. But the disciples are the very same thing. Like they have come to Jesus. In some ways, they did the best they knew to do in the moment they knew to do it. And Jesus is gracious to them, not to be angry at them, to call them in, okay, we've been together this long, brothers, and you still don't understand?
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. And that's what we're going to see throughout this whole book, and hopefully what we see out of the heart of God. God is not there to be the litigation lawyer. To corner us in a box, to prove us wrong, to say, I got you. It's more of, in grace, he's going to expose us. He's going to deconstruct what we've constructed, not for bad for us, but for good for us, to say, okay, here's what you need to know. I am for you and I love you. All the things that you're going to do, certainly we want to do them. And this is another great thing to remember about Ecclesiastes as we're going through it. Solomon will never say those things weren't good or they weren't enjoyable. They were enjoyable. It's the reason he went after him in the first place. It's the reason that he experienced all this life. Life is enjoyable. I remember growing up at the church that I was a part of, and I know they were well-meaning, and I remember my aunt was the youth minister, and she would say often, she was like, sin is no fun. You don't want to do anything of that. And I thought, okay, sin's no fun. And then I started to sin, like in some big teenage ways, and I'm like, you know what? She's wrong. Sin is absolutely fun. The consequences of sin are no fun, but that moment was fantastic.
Right.
But the outcome of it, the what happens next isn't. And I think that's what God in his grace is saving us from. Sure, the enemy is going to dangle in front of us. Hey, bite the fruit. It's tasty.
Yeah.
I think it was tasty. Whatever Adam and Eve bit into, whether it's the apple or the pomegranate or whatever it would be, they bit into it. It was like, oh, this is great. Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's both and the duality of life in that moment of, I finally got what I wanted. Oh, my gosh, what have I done in the same breath?
Absolutely.
Crazy tension.
So you talked about a couple of things that we were going to see throughout the book. One is the word vanity, and so we talked about what that actually meant. You also talked about the phrase "under the sun," that we're going to see that over and over and over again throughout this book, and the fact that as we read that we should be thinking about it in terms of the phrase "under the sun" meaning life without eternity in view. Correct.
Correct.
Yeah. So I think as we just sit here and we think, what are some practical ways that, that we could learn to view our work or our relationships or just our general everyday pursuits through the lens of eternity?
I know one way, Mike, for me, has been the challenge to view all the resources I have as gifts from God, that my house, my car, my finances, my influence, whatever it might be, my gifts, my talents, everything. How does God want to use us for his kingdom as opposed to these are for me to enjoy only? I think that is one helpful way.
Yeah,
that's right.
To start thinking about that they're from his hand, not my hand.
That's right. I think that's right. Johan, what would you say before I jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to something you said earlier of just re-examining the why. Like, am I doing things for God's glory or am I doing it for mine? Because, a lot of what you were saying earlier of like comparison, I'm doing this, or, I want status or recognition. a lot of it can be, actually, it's born out of insecurity. I feel lesser than, so I have to project status, wealth, strength, whatever it may be. So to be honest with ourselves. And I think, again, this is something we talked about last year a couple of times on the podcast, but allowing margin in your life to have times to be still, to reflect, to meditate on God's word, and God, what do you need to show me? Like I think it's what Psalm 139, where it's like, search me, O God, and asking him to reveal, like, where am I off course, or where are the things that maybe I'm chasing after and it's hevel. And it's like, hey, I need to do this for your glory. But I think the foundational thing is, am I seeking to glorify God with my life, with my decisions, my friendships, or is it I'm actually kind of seeking mine? Yeah. Because I don't think those can coexist simultaneously.
I agree 1,000%.
I think we want them to coexist.
I think we do. And I think society will tell us they can.
Yeah.
Especially social media culture. It's like, well, as my platform grows, God's, I get to present God in front of more people. So that's a win. And it's like, is that really what you want, though?
Right.
And so, again, it's not that the bigger platforms are wrong.
Oh, yeah.
It is, why are you trying? So, again, I just think that why question.
That's right. And for me, man, that tension lives moment by moment, not necessarily thing by thing. I'll give you for instance. This past year, I realized, and again, this all goes back to, I think parenting allows us a view into another generation and another world, and probably being a son or a daughter, when you look at your parents as they age, you also get a glimpse into another generation and another way of life. And so when I look at my son and I look at his friends and I see how are they consuming content, and I see, well, a lot of what they're listening, like truly theologically getting information from is TikTok. And I thought, well, I'm going to start some TikToks, man. I'm going to start a TikTok channel, and I'm going to start doing this thing. And honestly, like there's a part of me that most days when I film a TikTok and I put it out there, like it is genuine from the heart to say, I want people to know right theology, and I want them to know God so they can love God and know that they are loved by God and Christ. Like I want that. But then I'll find myself in the same exact breath, how many people viewed that? How many people are sharing that? How many people like it? How many people, when I walk in church, are telling me, "Hey, I really like that." And so there's a part, like it's not as easy as yes to this and no to this, because this is hevel and this is not. But it is, the difficult thing for me is even in the nuance of the same exact thing in the same breath, what do I need to repent of and what do I need to press in? Because I think we're going to see that is going to be more true of how we live our life, that our sin nature is so enmeshed, even in the holy things that we're after, that we need God to be gracious to us. And it's David's prayer in Psalm 139, God, search my heart. Like know my anxious and my wicked thoughts, and see if there's anything wicked in me, and then lead me into the way everlasting. And I think that prayer is not a prayer we pray once a month or even once a week or even once a day. Like we breathe it every moment of every single day.
That tension's there all the time.
Yeah, and one thing I want to encourage, as we're still kind of doing this intro to this incredible book, is if you are an analytical type person and you like to measure your life against and according to God's word, there's a potential you read through all 11 and a half chapters before you get to the really good part of the second half of chapter 12. And you're going to say, okay, it seems like a lot is hevel and not much is not hevel. So I think I'm just going to pause my life and all the endeavors just to make sure that I don't engage in hevel, like I don't engage in grabbing at smoke. I think the worst thing we can do as Christians is the paralysis by analysis, where we overthink everything. Because what Jesus invites us into is a life lived, and I would even say at a fast pace, trusting the Spirit to lead us along the way. Now, Solomon didn't have the Spirit in view. He had the Spirit and inspiration, but he had no clue what was ahead of him in 1,000 years that were coming his way. But that wasn't his to know. What he was setting the stage for is the good news of the gospel as it's coming through, right? And so when you hear this and you start to say, okay, well, I know the bad things I shouldn't be engaging in, but Solomon's about to embark into some what I think are really good things. And he's saying those are hevel too, and those are meaningless, and it's going to make me and my family hurt.
It can make you feel depressed.
It could. Like, what do we do from here? Look at me. don't overthink this. Don't overthink this. Press in, like what we'll hear every week is you're going to hear the truth and the tension that the text brings, and rightly, but press into God and allow the Spirit to lead you in even nuanced ways that maybe you are doing something for the right reason, and somewhere along the way get cloudy. He's good enough to be the good surgeon to say, you don't have to remove the whole thing, but you didn't remove that. Or you at least need to be honest about why did you check how many people viewed what you posted? Why did you care what people thought about what you were wearing that day? Why did you worry about the neighborhood that you live in or don't live in? Like those are honest questions that we don't need to be scared of, and allow the Lord to do what He's going to do.
Oh, that is good. Because if you don't read it in light of chapter 12, you can think, and maybe I'm the only one, this man needed an antidepressant.
No SSRIs there.
A couple of times I think that when you're reading it. But if you know, of course, Christ is coming ultimately, but chapter 12, he wraps it up better.
Yeah, that's
Well, I will say that maybe that's a strong indication of just the mental health crisis that we're in today. Because when you just look at the numbers of like how many, just think Western or even just zoom in American. When you look at how many people are struggling with maybe depression, anxiety, there might be an ancient cause to it. It may not be, it's the modern things and it's technology, it's social. It's like, well, those are maybe symptoms of it or expressions of it, but there might be an underlying cause that Solomon is actually pointing to.
I think he is, and there's a lot of commentators who would point to the very same thing, that a lot of times we view depression or anxiety as a you don't have enough, like a cause of you don't have enough. Well, if I just had more, then I wouldn't be depressed. If I just, I don't have enough money to pay my bills, my lights are being threatened to be cut off, my car's getting ready to be repossessed. If I had money, then I wouldn't be depressed. I'd be happy just like everybody else. This speaks to the other side. If you had all the money in the world, and you had all the resources in the world, and you had you've literally done everything the world has to offer, there's still depression there. And that's true, like even, Johan, of what you just pointed out, of our society here in Madison. We are, in Mississippi, we are the most well-educated, we are the most wealthy, I think we are the most postured for adventure and excitement with the most disposable income to do it right here. And we're the most heavily medicated for anxiety and depression.
We're number 7 in the United States towns to live in.
Right here, yeah. And so you couldn't ask for a better, like I joke, we're Disneyland. Like this, we live in Disneyland here in Madison, Mississippi, and yet we're still going to go to our doctor this week and say, hey, I need another refill of my Lexapro. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing. Please go and do that thing. But just know, just because you have more or you live in a place that has the most,
it won't solve that.
It doesn't absolve you.
It
Doesn't absolve you from the pain of this life.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the continued discussion over the next several weeks. I'm thinking, I appreciated your comments, Johan, about just the ancient source of maybe depression and things that we're feeling. And it actually makes me wonder if, maybe some of our modern technology and the things that we've embraced haven't accelerated. Like the root cause has always been there, but a lot of the things that we engage ourselves in and do now just maybe
facilitate
or just lead toward an acceleration of those types of things.
I've not found it to be helpful.
I also think there's this tension as you guys were talking. I was thinking it's not so black and white. So for those black and white thinkers, this is going to be a really tough series because, again,
I know.
You could be doing the very same activity.
Yeah, very much
You could be doing the very same activity as the person next to you, but this be sinful for you and not for that person because of your motivations and your heart posture.
100%.
It's exactly right.
Yeah.
And this is going to affect everything we do, not just outside the church walls, but specifically inside the church walls. Even when it comes to worship, we have 2 worship guys sitting at our table and 2 worshipers that sit under our 2 worship guys. And one thing that Solomon will talk about is not just the futility of this life, but the frailty that we have in this life. And here's kind of the posture that I find as I've read through this a couple of times. when we sing songs, and I don't think the songs are wrong, and I don't think us singing them are wrong, but that make blanket statements about God's goodness and God's blessing or God's breakthrough that's coming or a promise that is going to be ours to behold. And then we actually look at the reality of what Scripture has taught us. So, for example, does God deliver his people? Yes, he has done that. Has God's people suffered pain and struggle to the point of there was no rescue and they actually died in their suffering? I would argue that that happens far more often than the people are actually rescued out of the lion's den. And there is a reckoning with that in our life, because what we are led to believe, we're not intending to do this, but what we could be led to believe is, because we are Christian, because we are a part of a Christian church, because we sing these songs, God is always going to show up and rescue us out of the lion's den. God is always going to pay the bill when it's on time. God is always going to take the most extreme diagnosis and make the cancer disappear. But more often than not, far more often than not, he doesn't, but he's still good.
Right.
And that's what this book is going to get to, of what do we do in that tension of life as we sit there and even in our own church that we love are singing songs and say, God, I sing this as a prayer, but I don't know this to be true because I'm seeing something, I'm experiencing something different than what I'm hearing and saying and presenting. This, I think, leads us, if we do it rightly, leads us to a more authentic faith that is truly more about God than it is about us, more about who he is than just what he has promised or what we believe he has promised to us in our self-centric kind of way. This is going to be some good stuff, but it's going to be a hard row as we begin to hoe the ground in front of us. It is, as I guess the psalmist says, it is fallowed ground. It is hard and impacted, and the Lord in his grace is going to begin to till it up and get it right for the soil.
Hey, as we begin to wrap up here, and we're starting this series, we've done this a couple of times. We've talked about practical resources or things that might be helpful to any of our listeners as they engage this series and maybe do some study on their own. So, are there any resources that you have encountered that you might want to share that you think would be helpful for any of our listeners?
Well, I think
Or viewers now, I
what
guess,
Josh
since we're
said
doing
earlier
video.
about reading it in different versions, I think can give you a different perspective and help you envision. I keep saying envision because to me it's so visual. This book is, but just help you envision different things and look. Don't go off the rails to some weird translation.
That's exactly
Version.
right. Know
The
that
y'all
your-
version?
Translation's
the
not the
y'all
right word.
version. Know that your translation that you normally read out of, we like the,
Yeah.
I like the ESV, and I would say your more word-for-word translations, the ESV, the NASB, the CSB. The King James is a good translation. Just some of the words are a little outdated. The New King James, all good. When you get into the realm of the
for
Amplified
thought
or
for
the
thought.
New
Yeah.
Living or the paraphrases, like, be careful, but
Yeah.
use them.
Go back. Yeah, use them, but go
Use
back
them.
to your
Yes. Go back to
trusted
your
As a
version
study
for
tool.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple other books that I want to share with you. Ben Glad, who is going to be teaching Revelation for us this spring, he and I were talking this morning. He works, he writes and works and edits for Crossway. And one of their good books that they have on Ecclesiastes is called Living Life Backward by an author named David Gibson. And it's good. It starts with death in view and talks about what if this life isn't what we were ever meant to live for? It was what the life was to come. And if we ever believe that and truly believe that, then we are free in this life almost to live it however God wants us to, no matter what would come, because we're not even living for here. We're living for what comes next, which is the whole point of Ecclesiastes. Another book for you to consider is called Why Everything Matters: The Gospel in Ecclesiastes by Philip Ryken. Really good. And then Ben sent me another book this morning to consider. It's called Everything is Never Enough. Everything is Never Enough by Bobby Jameson. And so you can get all of those on Amazon. Excellent reads. Those aren't commentaries. They're just books, but based in Ecclesiastes. And of course, there are tons of great commentaries that you
Yeah,
can
but read the
consider.
word first in your
Read
trusted
the
version.
word first.
First, for sure. I always want to say there's a link in the show notes. I don't know what that means, but I always want to say
We hear that often. I'm sure Chase could figure
Yeah.
out what link in the
Yeah.
show notes.
Link
If you send me the links.
Well,
Yeah,
and,
it'll be in the show
and I
notes.
think it
I'll
would be
send
a
it
question
to you.
as to whether that would actually be a true statement.
Yeah.
So, so
search
Chase-
it and find
out. Let's try it out.
Only Chase can answer that. All right. So as we wrap up, just a couple of things for our viewers to note. one, if you're a Broadmoor member, or even if you're not, and you're watching this in the early part of the week, this being the first week of January, we are starting Wednesday nights back this Wednesday, January 7th. And so our Wednesday night programming, although this first Wednesday night will be a little different than what the remainder of them will be. We're still having our normal family dinner together, but then we're doing a gathering all together in the same space where we'll have some musical worship. We'll also our team will be giving an overview of what you can expect on Wednesday nights this semester, and so which will include several different tracts. Being glad, teaching through Revelation will be one of those. That'll be an ongoing thing. We'll have some things that are targeted more toward
For
families and a little more topical
And
thematic
women.
things.
Some things like that.
yeah.
And I will want to throw in preschool children students. They all start back this week.
this week.
So they'll be all
Yep.
there, and the adults will all be together
Yeah.
in the venue.
That's a good point.
We haven't done this since I've been here
That's right.
on
Yep.
Wednesday nights. I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
it.
including our worship ministry. So
Yeah.
we'll be there as well. So we'll all be together. It'll be a really great time.
It will be
So
fun.
I appreciate that distinction because actually, all the adult programming,
Yes.
we're meeting together. The kids and
their
students are doing their own things as
Thank you,
normal.
Jesus.
So, so anyway, hey, so great to be in the conversation today, and looking forward to the weeks to come.
Yes,
It's going to be
our
great.
new studio. We're so excited. Thank
Yeah.
you, Chase
Yeah.
and
Yay.
Co.
Thanks, guys.
Love you guys.